Hey guys, increasingly homeless looking Scott here. I only have one Breathe Right strip left and they're very expensive, so I'm just wearing it throughout the video. Today I want to talk about something that I think a lot of content creators feared might happen. Here's just me talking about it pretty recently, in fact. Again, the main thing we're trying to avoid here is banning people or giving them disconnection penalties when they're not actually trolling, when they're not actually just going next because they're being a little shit. You have to be so careful with that. So it's the whole scenario with the automated go next prevention and the AFK detection not being lenient enough and punishing people for not actually breaking any rules. They're just simply dying too fast or getting tunneled or things like that. And we're having the scenario where just bad players or very good killers in mismatched matches are just getting players banned for just dying too fast. Now, before I go any further, I do have to play devil's advocate here and say, I don't necessarily have definitive proof of this. There's a lot of reports on social media of this actually happening. There's a lot of people very upset about this, and I don't think they're all making it up. So I would say this is 100% truly happening. But again, just to play devil's advocate, all I'm seeing are people claiming they get tunneled out quickly and then screenshots saying they got a disconnection penalty point. It's just always just a screenshot. I haven't seen like a full Twitch VOD of a streamer dying very quickly and then getting this. I would love to see that for actual 100% foolproof proof, but there are way too many people reporting this for it to be something fake. A lot of times people in the community will get banned for something and then they say, oh, I'm a victim. No, I didn't do anything wrong. Turns out they absolutely did something wrong. And so I'm a little skeptical when I have things like this, but there have been a lot of people ranting about this thing, all sort of at the same time from different sources. I think that's too much to dismiss as just people making it up. So this is what we were worried about. And it does seem like if people are just simply dying too fast, they are getting a disconnection penalty point. And that is, again, something a lot of us talked about as being a terrible, terrible first experience for a new player. Because imagine, Johnny, brand new Dwight with a little bow tie and propeller hat Dwight comes in to play his first match of DBD on Springtrap's map, and he's, oh my god, it's Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's. This is so exciting. And then he dies really fast. He's like, oh my god, that was so scary. I died as fast as I did in my first playthrough of Five Nights at Freddy's. That's crazy. And then they're hit with the fuck you screen. Like you get banned for just dying too fast. That is a horrible, horrible new player experience. People are being penalized essentially for being bad at the game, which is ridiculous. Now, I do think, again, there is definitely some wiggle room here to understand when someone is going next and when someone is just simply being tunneled and they're not very good at the game or the killer is disproportionately better than them. But we were repeated so many times in so many videos and posts and stuff like that from content creators far bigger and more important than me too, that they need to do this on the side of leniency. And it's so much better if people are not punished for going next than if people are punished for not going next, if you get what I'm saying. This is the kind of thing that brings so much bad press to the game. I have no doubt within a couple of days there's going to be a fucking Kotaku article. People are getting mass banned in Dead by Daylight due to a blah, blah, blah system. And it's going to just draw a bunch of negative criticisms of the game who just hit, its biggest player peak ever. So I can see these scenarios already happening. It's going to happen. And I was just so concerned about it. And I really wanted them to be lenient about it. But yeah, they just weren't. So the whole problem with this system and automating things like this is I think the only real way to do it is with like pattern recognition. You would need to see someone dying in chase within 4 seconds multiple games in a row. Because even a new player is not going to die in 4 seconds. Like, if you have someone that just runs up to the killer and just, teabags, killer hits them twice, their chase is non-existent. That, if you see multiple games in a row, it's like, okay, this guy's not even just running in a straight line, not even using pallets or windows. He's not even trying to evade the killer. This is pretty clearly someone trying to just kill themselves and go next. So you definitely still can automate the system. It's very, very easily something you can do. The problem is you can't tell us what you're doing because then people will go, okay, they said it's within 10 seconds. I'll get chased for 10 seconds, then stand still. So that's what I'm saying. They need to be as vague as possible about their system while also not falsely banning people for actually breaking the rules of the system that is way too vague, that's not understood and stuff like that. So, like I said, this is a very complicated issue to automate, and I don't really fault them for screwing it up. The only thing I fault them for is not erring on the side of it being lenient. Like I said, it's much better. But it's not much better to not ban people that are breaking rules than ban people that are not breaking rules. So Whatever they need to do it. Fix it quickly before you get more negative press. It's just going to look really bad for the game. And additionally, another thing that they really screwed up that I actually have noticed personally is the AFK crows system or whatever is, yeah, like people are very upset about this. The AFK system really is not good at all. There are people just simply breaking totems, like Thrill of the Hunt, for example. If you try to break a Thrill of the Hunt totem, you will start getting crows above you because the game thinks you're AFK. It's not taking actual gameplay progressing mechanics as actual progressing mechanics, and it thinks you are just wasting time doing nothing. Now, again, there are plenty of ways to actually automate this. You can just simply have a check. Hey, does the killer have Thrill of the Hunt? Okay, it takes this long to do it. Therefore, it's like one if-then statement. It's not really complicated to fix these things. But the initial system that they appear to have added to the game is, again, way too strict. And this is something that was way safer to err on the side of leniency for. The other system, the Go Next problem, is a big problem. We do want to address that. So I understand why they want to have this system that prevents that from happening. But the AFK thing, it's really not that big of an issue. Every once in a while, you get a giant pain in the ass game where your opponents are just hiding for, 10, 15 minutes. In fact, I had one of those on Midwich just a couple of days ago, and it sucked. The match was like 22 minutes long. It was so boring. So every once in a while, like every 20 or 30 games, you have a scenario where this is a problem. But it's not really a big enough issue to be so strict that people are now getting crows on their head for just literally doing objectives that actually help their team and stuff. So again, all of these automated systems are a great idea in theory, but we all kind of predicted that they were going to be way too strict or do absolutely nothing. There's simply no in between. And unfortunately, they went on the way too strict side. So again, there are plenty of ways to fix things like this too. It's very, very easy to do. It's just a couple of, if-then statements for outlying, things. And even if you don't want to go specific like that, you want it to just be more vague, you need to just make it so things like totems are not counting as you being AFK. Now, you could detect if a player starts a totem and doesn't complete the totem breaking, then that's considered, trolling and AFK, and that's not doing anything. It's the equivalent of just picking up your med kit and dropping it over and over again to not be actually AFK. So like I said, there are plenty of ways to automate detecting this, make sure they break the totem instead of just restarting it a bunch of times. I just don't know why they didn't do that to start with. Like I said, these things are not very complicated. Again, I have only loosely designed games, stuff like that. Well, I can't even say that. I've literally fucking made a game on Steam. But multiplayer games and things like that and networking and all that stuff is more complicated. Sure, I completely understand that. But I'm telling you, it's really not that complicated to have a couple of checks for just situations like this. So overall, yeah, it seems like the first iteration of the AFK detection and Go Next systems are not very good. They are very, very strict, and people are getting falsely penalized for that, leading to disconnect penalties, which eventually lead to actual gameplay bans. And a lot of these people are just simply new to the game and not good, and punishing people for being bad is the quickest way to get people to hate your game as a new player. So, considering we just got our highest player count yet, this is terrible. I would honestly prefer they just shut the system off entirely until they refine it and make it far more lenient or way more accurate. Other than that, though, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.